Hi, Katzcradul here. I received this message, or the link to this article, in an email message from my father this morning. And the name of the article is, and it's from Reader Supported News, is Bernie Sanders Calls for Labeling Genetically Engineered Food. Seems that Senator Bernie Sanders, who's an independent from Vermont, proposed an amendment to the Farm Bill that would let states require that any food or beverage containing genetically engineered ingredients be clearly labeled. The Vermont legislature earlier this year considered a bill that would have required labels on food that contained genetically engineered ingredients. The House Agricultural Committee heard testimony from 111 citizens and hundreds more that were crowded in the State House to show their support. Despite passing by a lopsided 9-to-1 vote in committee, the bill languished after Monsanto threatened to sue the state. Similar strong-arm tactics by one of the world's leading producers of genetically engineered foods and herbicides has been employed elsewhere by Monsanto, the multinational company that posted $1.6 billion, yeah, you heard that right, $1.6 billion in profits last year. Quote, "It's no mystery why Monsanto would fight people's right to know," Sanders said. "Business is booming for the chemical company. Clearly, they have a lot to protect," close quote. Well, the Sanders Amendment, which is co-sponsored by Barbara Box, who's a Democrat from California, is saying that states have the authority to require labeling of food products through genetic engineering, or if those products derive from organisms that have been genetically engineered. The measure would also require the Food and Drug Administration and the U.S. Department of Agriculture to support or to report to Congress within 2 years on the percentage of food and beverages in the United States that contain genetically engineered ingredients. Let's see. It said that, Sanders said, "I believe that when a mother goes to a store to purchase food for a child, she has the right to know what she's feeding it, that they should label the food." The United States already has food labels that must list 3,000 ingredients ranging from gluten to aspartame, high fructose corn syrup, trans fat, or MSG, which we know can appear under many different names, but it doesn't require that they label for genetically altered ingredients, and most choose not to. The sad part of it is, around the world, by contrast, 49 countries required labels on food that contain genetically engineered ingredients. What is wrong with us? In the 1900s, the doctors and FDA agreed that there was probably some problems with genetically altered food, and they list the things that the diseases it might cause there. And concerns are mounting, the American Medical Association will consider resolutions calling for new studies on the impact of genetically altered foods. Well, big deal. You know what happens when they run studies on genetically altered foods? That's usually handled through a university, and what happens is the university's funding is tied to how lenient they are on the companies that are producing genetically engineered foods. Anyway, it goes on to talk about Roundup Ready and the problem with that, those crops that those seeds that Monsanto sells that are Roundup Ready, engineered soybean, that it's caused the spread of Roundup resistant weeds, which now infest 10 million acres in 22 states, and they're predicting that 40 million acres or more are going to be affected by mid-decade. Anyway, what happens is that as these weeds are becoming resistant to these herbicides, they're having to go back and use more toxic herbicides. And I know that's true. And the same thing with pesticides, because I heard it today from a local farmer's wife, and I'll share more with you in another article. The other thing I wanted to share with you is that if you are not subscribed to Food Democracy Now, you really should be. It's a great website. I love it because they update me every time I need to act. If there's a senator or a congressman that I need to call, they will tell me what's going on, and they keep track of what's on the floor and what's being proposed and that kind of thing. So I really appreciate this website and encourage you to sign up. Today they sent me a notice saying you need to call your senators and tell them that you want them to support these particular amendments that are going to be added to this 2012 Farm Bill. And So that's exactly what I did. And they tell you exactly what to say, and they provide you with the numbers you need to call, the names of the senators and the numbers. So here is how this looks. They've given me a little form thing to say, but I usually amend it and say what I want to say. But just for instance, hi, my name is Jane Doe, and I'm one of Senator Claire McCaskill's constituents, and I care a great deal about what's happening with the 2012 Farm Bill. Please tell Senator McCaskill to support the Sanders Amendment number 2310, which allows labeling of genetically engineered foods, to support the Chambliss Amendment number 2438 that supports conservative compliance, conservation compliance, and the Durbin-Corbett Amendment number 2439, which caps insurance subsidies. I care about what happens to small farmers. I care about healthy food for my family, and I hope Senator Claire McCaskill does too. And they may ask for your zip code, and then you give them that. Then, of course, I need to call two people, Senator Roy Blunt and Senator Claire McCaskill. And then I come over here in section 2, it's report back. And so they're asking, who did you call? And so I click both buttons that I called both people, because I did. And there's a box below that I can give them information about what was said, anything that can help them. And so I simply said, left a message on McCaskill's answering machine, and assistant in Blunt's office took message and said she would pass along. And then all I do is press the little green submit button that's in the bottom right corner, and that will give them feedback. And then all I need to do is wait until the next, keep reading as many things as I can, many accurate things as I can about what's going on with our food, and then wait until the next time there's something I need to take action on. And almost always they will send me an email and tell me what's going on a day-to-day basis. So that's something you might want to do, is to look those good folks up at fooddemocracynow.org. Great folks. I hope so many of you are writing to me and telling me that you care about this kind of thing. I'm so glad you just don't, want to sit around and watch me make cookies, or, that's all well and good. I want to help you learn how to use your food storage and how to live more frugal, provident lives. But man, there's nothing more important than us getting involved at the grassroots level here, and writing and calling. And every time a bill like this comes up, that we're on the phone talking to our senators and saying, you need to support this. It's important. And I go a little further than that. Sometimes I include, especially if I'm writing a letter, is that I'm really paying attention who supports the small farmer, who supports food safety, who supports labeling of GMO, and I'm going to look at those records when I go to the polls in November to vote, and I'm going to vote for those people who support those things that are important to me and that will protect my family and protect the small farmer and protect our food. I hope you care about those things, and I know you do, because you write me messages all the time, and I just appreciate you so much. If you have any questions, just leave me a comment or send me a PM, and I'll try to answer it as best I can. Again, I appreciate all you do, and for your patriotism and wanting to stand up for what's right. Katzcradul.